You're all beautiful. I enjoy looking at your pictures, your smiles, and the memories that come to mind. You're great. The noble and great family heritage.
Thank you for arranging all of this, Bob.
Well, I thank Elaine, my daughter, and Bob, my son, and others who have helped. I still do not know which buttons to push. I'm happy to be the spokesperson here. It's been great. Does anyone object to continue a similar approach every 3 months on the 24th of the subsequent? And
That would be great.
I see some thumbs up, thumbs up. No one has any objections to it. We'll find a way to keep ourselves within a reasonable time limit and just find ways to honor the forefathers. The veil is thin. The veil is really thin. I think they love hearing what we're saying about them. I don't know how the recording system works through the veil, but I have no doubt that what the tribute to each one of our blessed, illustrious forefathers are aware of our love of them and our tribute to them. So Bob, thanks. I don't know if there's anything else.
Is there any hard copies that we could obtain from some of these?
Bob, any hard copy?
Well, I think each of the presenters, if you will send an electronic version to Elaine, she will be happy to share that with you, and then you can print it locally. So you all have Elaine's contact information because she invited you to this. So I think if the speakers would like to send their remarks and maybe pictures in an electronic format by email or something, then we'll be happy to get that shared.
Thanks, Bob. Good
Yeah.
advice.
I just wanted to say my husband and I are starting at the MTC tomorrow morning to begin our second family history mission. And we will be going to the Oakland Family Search Library next to the Oakland Temple. If any of you are in that area, either live in that area or coming there on vacation in the next year, please come and stop in and see us. It would be nice to actually hug Earl cousins in person and not just see them on Zoom. And so, as you
Very
can tell,
good.
family history is very dear to our hearts. So this has been a labor of love and continues to be.
I would love to see it repeated from the beginning and just keep going. That would be so great.
Very good. I like that spirit. Let's keep going.
Let me ask a question. I found in my father's records here a disc that had volume 1 of the Earl book, but there are several more volumes that I don't have on disc, and I wonder if somebody else does have them or knows who has them.
That's the Ken Earl.
Right.
Yeah.
So there was one volume that was on a disc. It was a PDF, but of every page. Did somebody create that? Does somebody know? If not, we may have to do it manually and create it that way.
I thought it was only 2 volumes.
It's 2 volumes.
2 volumes. Okay, so we found volume 1, but on disc, but not volume 2.
I believe it's also in the Family Search Library. I believe it's also online, digitized in the Family Search Library,
Oh, good. That's what I'm looking for.
at least volume 1. Not sure about volume 2, but so if you go online in Family Search, you should be able to find it in the catalog.
Thank you.
Does anybody know if Dad's book, Low and High Hurdles, was digitized or put in a PDF form?
I've got a copy of the book, but I don't know about anything.
I would
Well,
love to have a copy of Roland's book.
I
I
know
would-
if you've read that book, it's very, very humorous. I would love the family to be able to read some of those stories because they are very funny. But that's another thing that should be digitized and put on Family Search.
Well, it sounds to me like your sister's children have a great deal of computer knowledge. And I think it would be up to Cameron and Taylor and McKay and so forth
Are you hearing that, Cameron, Taylor, and McKay?
to make that happen.
I heard,
Yeah,
she's
I
referring to
know what Sandy's
Mickey's
name
kids.
included, but
Okay, do I understand that the suggestion is that Uncle Roland's family do the digitizing of that?
We
Yes,
can-
Cameron
we can
is
do
in
it.
charge.
Oh,
Perfect.
gosh.
I'd love
I'll
to
be
see
happy.
that.
We would all love to have a copy, so please do.
Oh, gosh.
That-
Okay,
that is a
we'll get it
classic.
done.
Classic. I want to call out one of you by name. I see cousin Janice Earl Whipple, and obviously bedridden, but our prayers are with you, Janice. Good to see you. Thanks for joining with us. We're not connected to her verbally, but she's been a faithful watcher and listener for this whole series.
And I have my, this is Taylor Earl. I'm Ruland's grandson. This is something we got, I inherited from Grandpa Ruland, is this rug that was in his entryway. If ever you went to his house in Vegas, you would have seen this rug. So I just love it. It's just such a fun memory of walking into Grandpa Ruland's house and Grandma Cleta and seeing this kind of funny looking rug. So I had my daughter go grab it.
Finally. Okay.
I can't hear you, Grandpa.
Well.
What?
Well, as we say in Spanish, abrazos, hugs and kisses and love to each and every one of you. It's been great, and we will find a way to perpetuate this quarterly visit with each other and find ways to add pictures and stories and the printed word and whatever. So thanks.
Just a very fun story. A few months ago in Houston, Texas, a new family showed up in our ward. And I ended up giving the closing remarks in that meeting, and my wife, who was in the Relief Society president, was sitting behind them and introduced herself and invited them over to lunch at our home and wanted to know if they were moving into the ward. And it was the Earleys who were traveling across the country. We delighted in meeting with them. I think they were on this call. I don't know if they still are, but we found out, oh, we're second cousins. We see each other on the calls. And we didn't know it at the time, but it was delightful to get to know each other.
Thanks. Glad that worked.
Yes, that is our sister Julie, who dreamed of having a different last name her whole life, and she got 2 extra letters by the time she got married, from Earl to Early.
Sam Wells, I see you. Thanks. We had a good visit recently.
Well, to you, Roland Earl, children and grandchildren, several years ago, I was asked to write an article for the Ensign about people who donate to humanitarian causes. And I was interviewed for that slot by McLean Bybee. And when I was in the interview, he was mentioned that he was from Las Vegas. And I said, well, if you're from Las Vegas, you probably know my uncles, Marion and Rulon. I didn't have to say any more. I got the job. They spent 15 minutes telling me how wonderful Marion and Rulon were. And of course, I already knew that. But it was a testimony to me of the reputation that our parents and our grandparents had basically throughout the Western states, but particularly Utah and Nevada and Arizona. And wherever we have gone, Karen mentioned that her son Sean was in a conference, I think it was in Europe somewhere, and he saw a young woman who had a booth, and she had a name tag that had the name of Earl, and he immediately figured out who she was, and that would have been Julie. And they had a wonderful talk and, reminisced about Uncle Rulon and Jay Donnell and how close they were. They were the closest of brothers. And I have some correspondence I probably really need to share with you kids, because there was a lot of kidding back and forth between the two of them. Particularly because the only person who had handwriting worse than our father was Uncle Rulon. And they poked fun at each other all the time about how awful their handwriting was. And it really was. It was almost incomprehensible. My father referred to Uncle Rulon's handwriting as Stringtown Dribble. That was the name of it. But they were very, very close, as were their two wives. When Karen and I were little, Mama would take us into Las Vegas and drop Karen and me off at the Children's Theater, and she would go spend the rest of the day with Aunt Esther. And that was one of the sweet memories that I have, is not only were the two men close as brothers, but their wives truly became sisters to each other. And I think that happened throughout the entire family, that the in-laws were as close as the outlaws. And it was, it brought a sweet spirit to every family reunion, because the spouses were as close to one another as the siblings were.
Very good. So we decided to terminate.
I was actually, if I could share one thing real quick. My name is Kimball. I'm one of Rulon's grandsons. My brother McKay mentioned that my son is serving his mission in Las Vegas. And it was pretty neat that my dad had only passed away a year earlier. So for my son to receive his mission call to my dad's hometown was really special. And we had a great experience. My son and I went up to Vegas to tour the area before his mission. And so we went we stayed with Uncle Bob. And Uncle Bob took us around to where my dad grew up, and church they went to, the schools they went to, took us up to Bunkerville so we could see, Joseph Ira's tombstone, who my son Joseph is named after. And so Joe loved seeing his namesake's tombstone. And what was really special is, as we're driving around, I was thanking my Uncle Bob for taking us. And he expressed that for him, it was like having his brother Steve in the car with us. It was just a really special opportunity to be there with my uncle and my son, and to tour that area of Vegas. And to have those kind of special moments. And so I appreciate that my son's there. And he even shared a picture when he was on his mission that he found my grandpa Rulon had an RV park that had been named after him. And he found it as driving in his area. He saw it on the side of the road. how to get a picture of it. And he thinks it's so neat to be serving in that area, to see his name show up in different places and people recognize his name badge and say, wait, Elder Earl, are you related to Ruin? And he's like, yeah, it's my great grandpa. It's like, oh, he was our stake president. We love President Earl. And it's a special thing for him to be serving there right now.
Yeah, great, great. Someone over here wanted time.
Hi, I'll just say something quickly. My dad is Ralph Stewart, who is a grandson of Lois Emerly Earl. My dad has passed away a few years ago, but he was so proud of his family heritage, of growing up in Las Vegas and all of the relatives, all of the cousins. And then we were fortunate enough to live in the same town and ward as Nell Marie Earl Benson. And so even though she was kind of a little distant relative, to me, we just called her Aunt Nell. And so I can testify that she literally was an angel on earth. And so the Earl family has always been very close to me as well. So having been able to participate in these reunions and hearing all the stories of all the children of Joseph Ira Earl, and some of them whom I knew, and just the family legacy and stories that my dad would tell me has helped me feel really close to my father and my family heritage. And I've loved all of these. I've watched the YouTube recordings, and I think this is a real treasure and something that we should be very, very grateful for, because not every family does this. Not every family is this close or cares about our history. So I think it's a real blessing that we've been able to do this. So I'm very grateful.
Great, thank you. Thank you for adding that.
And I just wanted to say that, as the other one was saying, that you were so good. The whole family was so good to in-laws. As Claire and I were married and moved to Boulder City, well, then I became so acquainted with every one of them, Uncle Marion and Uncle Rulin and Uncle Donald. Uncle Donald and Jean were just our home away from home parents. They set us up with a full apartment when we moved there, even had the piano that was waiting to go into the church. They put it in my house, and it was just the most amazing time that we had with their family. We did babysit. I think I mentioned this once before, but they asked us to babysit their kids, and it was when they had, I guess they had five. They had one teenager, so it must have been Karen, and at that time, at that time I was also pregnant, and I joked afterwards that taking care of those 5 kids almost made me wonder if I wanted to have children. But I love them. We just had the greatest time. And as I hear all of these things going on, the different histories of ones, I realize how many of the brothers and sisters that I knew and that I know. And it's because even though I'm an in-law, well, then they're just like my own brothers and sisters. And I appreciate that very much.
Great, great. Beautiful comments. Okay, shall we turn it off? Oh, we waving, or do you want to say something?
Just waving.
Just waving.
Goodbye.
Okay.
Love to all.
Hugs, kisses, love,
Abrazos.
everybody.
Okay, bye.
Besos, abrazos, cariño.
Bye-bye.
Good night and happy July 24th, Pioneer Day.
Bye.
What a way to celebrate. Okay. Thank you for running it. Thanks again to